Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to my guide to the Deltascape V2 on the normal difficulty, the second encounter in the new raid, Omega, the Bend of Time. To unlock this fight, simply follow the new quest line that unlocks in Rhalgr's Reach, starting with the quest, The Hunt for Omega, and clear the Deltascape V1 beforehand. This encounter drops Deltascape bolts, lens, and pedals, all of which can be exchanged for item level 320 gear at Galfurdus, a new NPC in Rhalgr's Reach near the other two gear vendors. Deltascape V2 consists of a single encounter against the boss, Catastrophe. This encounter consists of one actual phase, though the boss has multiple patterns of mechanics as the fight goes on. I'll add time skips for mentioning some of the more specific patterns in the description of the video. Upon entering Deltascape V2, you'll notice you have a new duty action. This duty action, the Anti-Gravity Gimbal, allows you to levitate indefinitely until dragged down by the boss's 100 Gs attack. Attacks from the boss take place on two horizontal fields, some only hitting you if you are on the ground, and some only hitting you if you're levitating in the air. You'll want to use this to dodge the ground attacks and refrain from using it when threatened with aerial attacks. There are a lot of patterns of mechanics here, so I'll make mention of the more deadly ones for the Duty Finder in particular. First, let's talk about Catastrophe himself. He has several basic attacks. He has a standard Conal Cleave on the tank, as well as a tank buster called Evil Sphere. Just use mitigation when you see Evil Sphere casting. Immediately, he will test your use of your new duty action. His Earthquake attack, which he'll use very shortly into the fight, make sure you are levitating for it. He'll start the fight with this so you can pull the boss with Levitate up, to be honest. The next is 6 Foams Under, which gradually drags players to their death. Once again, use Levitate when you see the whole ground turn black. Gravitational Manipulation causes him to levitate a player and put a stack marker on them. Players must levitate to stack with the marked player and split the damage. If you're on the ground, it doesn't count. Maniacal Probe is an attack I saw a lot of Duty Finder groups struggling with, but it is quite simple. The boss summons 4 tentacles around the room. After a brief delay, he will use Epicenter and arm all of them, causing a marker to appear on each of them. After a few more seconds, some of the tentacles will become unmarked. Simply go stand closer to the wall by the unmarked tentacles to dodge the AoEs that come out of the marked tentacles. Depending on the pattern of tentacles, the AoEs are sometimes quite large, so I like to get closer to the wall. Better safe than sorry. As long as you stand by unmarked tentacles, the pattern doesn't really matter. Oh, and a simple attack we almost missed, Demon's Eye. It's a gaze attack that petrifies. Look away from the boss. Nothing more. Antilight is the other mechanic I've seen the Duty Finder struggling with. It's a fun mechanic that can exist on both horizontal planes. It summons multiple orbs that have AoE circles around them, and you need to determine whether or not you need to levitate to avoid them. You can see whether or not to levitate for the AoEs by turning your camera horizontally and seeing if your characters line up with the AoE markers, but there's a simpler way to do it. Simply put, blue markers require a levitate to dodge, and orange markers require you to stay grounded to dodge. Some patterns have blue and orange orbs. If the entire arena looks like it's covered in AoEs and you don't know where to go, just stand in the middle of the room and stay grounded. You'll dodge everything. If the blue and orange orbs are stacked right on top of each other, like you see right now, then 2 safe spots will form on opposite ends of the room. The attack he uses to knock you up, negative 100 Gs, does some AoE damage when you land, so heal people up. Stand in either of those safe spots before the boss flips you into the air, and you won't get murdered. Getting hit by Antilight orbs deals damage and petrifies you for a pretty long time, by the way. There are 2 other Antilight patterns I feel that are worth mentioning specifically for Duty Finder groups. The first starts by just summoning the orange orbs above you. After a short delay, he will use 6 Foams Under again, slowly dragging you down. Wait until the orange orbs explode, and then use your Levitate to get out of the black ground AoE. Similarly, he will use the orange orbs and start casting Earthquake after they explode, so Levitate when you see the Earthquake casting. As the fight goes on longer, Catastrophe starts using Gravitational Wave as well, which deals damage and interrupts the casting of anyone caught casting during it. Surecast can be useful here, but isn't really necessary if you just heal right after it. You only really want Surecast if you absolutely need the healing to go off during it. Those are really all the dangerous combinations and mechanics the bosses can do. Once again, since the boss doesn't really phase, you'll just be seeing all of these mechanics repeatedly in different combinations until either you hit Enrage or win. There are technically phases as the boss starts to repeat patterns later into the fight, but there's no hard indication of a transition like other fights. Just know the mechanics so when you see them later in the fight, you know how to avoid them and it'll go smooth. Thanks for watching my guide to Catastrophe. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for all the other Omega, Deltascape, Normal, and Savage guides. I'll see you next time, and until then, take care.